Hello and welcome. Thank you for being here and investing your time in improving your English and yourself. You have sat in front of a foreigner, smiled, nodded, and pretended to understand everything while your mind was completely blank. I remember one time I was standing at a drink counter and the staff only asked a very simple question, but it took me a few seconds just to understand what they were saying. And when it was my turn to answer, I said something slowly, made many mistakes, and then stayed silent, just hoping they would not ask anything more. That moment passed very quickly, but the feeling stayed for a long time. The feeling that you are not stupid, but you still cannot speak. The feeling that you have learned a lot, but you cannot use it. And the worst thing is, you start to ask yourself, maybe the problem is you. That tired feeling is not because you are bad, but because your brain is trying to do too many things at the same time. You are trying to remember vocabulary, build grammar, worry about pronunciation, and feel afraid of making mistakes, all in just a few seconds. Your brain is not designed to process many layers of information in such a short time, so it chooses the easiest way: stop. That is why you feel frozen when you try to speak, even though you studied very hard before. Imagine you are learning to drive for the first time. You have to watch the road, remember the pedals, check the mirrors, and listen to instructions. You will feel so much pressure that you just want to stop the car. English is the same, but you're trying to drive every day without learning step by step. Your brain does not hate English. It only hates the feeling of being overloaded all the time. Have you noticed that when you listen to Vietnamese, you do not need to think, but when you listen to English, you have to try very hard? It's not because English is harder, but because it is not familiar enough to you. Your brain always prefers what is familiar because it saves energy. Vietnamese is something you have heard since you were a child, so everything feels natural. But English, for your brain, is still something new. So every time you hear English, your brain goes into a warning mode. It has to analyze sounds, guess meanings, and connect information, and that makes you tired very quickly. You think you are lazy, but actually you are using more energy than normal. That is why you lose focus easily when listening to English, even if the content is not difficult. Your brain is not fighting English, it's just protecting you from something unfamiliar. You have learned hundreds of single words, but when you speak, you still cannot make a full sentence. You have learned many grammar structures, but when you communicate, you cannot remember them. That is normal, because you are learning English in a way your brain does not like. Your brain does not like separate information. It does not like learning a word today and trying to remember it tomorrow without context. It does not like learning rules first and then trying to use them later. Your brain learns best when it sees meaning right away. It needs the feeling, I can use this. But the traditional way of learning makes you feel, I need to remember this first. That small difference makes the whole process heavy. And slowly, your brain starts to connect English with tiredness. There's one thing many people do not notice. Your feelings when learning English are more important than your method. If you were forced to learn, English feels like a task. If people corrected you all the time, you start to be afraid of speaking. If you got bad scores, you start to think you are not good enough. These experiences do not disappear. They stay in your brain. And every time you open a book or hear English, your brain brings those feelings back. A little stress, a little worry, a little boredom. You do not notice it, but these small feelings make you want to avoid it. It is not because you do not want to learn, but because you do not want to feel that way again. To change, you do not need to force yourself to study more. You just need to make learning something you do not hate. Watch things you like, but in English. Listen to stories you care about, not boring lessons. Let English appear in your life naturally. When you no longer feel forced, your brain will stop resisting. And when your brain stops resisting, you will improve faster than you think.
In the end, the problem is not how long you study, but how your brain feels during the process. If every time you study feels tiring, you will stop sooner or later. But if every time you study feels light, you will continue without much effort. Your brain does not hate English. It only hates the way you are making it learn English. And when you change that, everything will start to change too. If you find this video interesting and helpful, please give me a like and subscribe.